Round 1 of the AFL season is always a time to celebrate, but it was an extra special week for the Saints. Only days before the first bounce, the club returned to its spiritual home at RSEA Park in Linton Street, Moorabbin. While the paint was still fresh at the Saints' new headquarters, Alan Richardson and his men turned their attention to a round 1 date with the Lions. After a big off-season, it was Paddy McCartan that landed the first blow, but the biggest cheer was saved for young gun Hunter Clark.
Clark gets his first goal in football. Great play by the Saints.
Blake Acres showcased his bag of tricks, collecting 30 disposals and nailing one of the goals of the night.
Party tricks by Blake Acres.
Seb Ross and Jack Billings were also in fine form, but it was another familiar face who almost certainly topped the vote cards. When the Lions threatened, 3-time Trevor Barker medalist Jack Stephen stepped up to inspire the Saints.
Jack, what are you doing? He's going for home, and it doesn't matter because he's got the goal.
St Kilda players and coaches turned out in force ahead of the Good Friday blockbuster, putting smiles on faces and helping raise money for the Royal Children's Hospital. In a scrappy opening term, it was Jake Carlisle who handled the occasion best.
Oh, good stuff, Carlisle. That was brilliant.
While Jade Gresham got the ball rolling in the second.
Gresham's a good finisher, and that is a goal.
Ben Long impressed in just his 6th game of AFL football, and Blake Acres again had a contender for goal of the day.
After all of that, that's a magnificent finish.
But despite the efforts of Jack Stephen and Jimmy Webster, the Saints in the end were no match for the Ben Brown-inspired Kangaroos. Alan Richardson's men were desperate to respond in round 3 against the Crows, and Jack Sinclair was in everything early.
That's disposal 9 and his first goal.
Playing his first game for St Kilda, Nick Caulfield held his nerve in front of goal.
Kick, a goal! Wonderful! And they'll get right around him.
While Josh Bruce helped the Saints keep in touch in the third.
And he does.
Seb Ross and Shane Savage topped the stats sheet for the hosts, but it was the Crows who flexed their muscle to run away with a comfortable victory. For the first time since 2014, the Saints travelled down the highway to take on the Cats at GMHBA Stadium in round 4. After a wasteful opening term in front of goal, Dylan Roberton kicked truly.
That's a pretty good kick, and he has answered. Roberton gets his first.
But it would be the star defender's last in 2018. A community of Saints held their breath when Roberton collapsed, and teammates and medical staff rushed to his side.
Might be Roberton. It is Roberton. Yeah, it is.
Thankfully, the much-loved Saint was soon back on his feet, but would be sidelined for the rest of the year with a heart condition. After a lacklustre first half, Paddy McCartan and then Luke Dunstan cut the margin.
It's on its way. Paddy's got a goal!
Before the Cats wrestled back control. Ben Long again showed promise with a contender for goal of the year.
Around the body he goes and kicks the goal.
While Dunstan was the Saints' best with 7 tackles, 26 possessions and 2 goals. For the third time in as many weeks, the Saints started the underdogs against GWS. Young guns Ben Long and Jade Gresham ensured a bright start, but Jack Nunes was out of the game early.
Or hip to head. And he took a long time to get up, and he's a pretty tough nut.
Paddy McCartan made his presence felt.
From the top of the 50, McCartan's back in form, and the Saints are back in front.
While Luke Dunstan landed a big bomb soon after.
That is a sensational goal. Ho-ho!
Jack Stephen and Jack Billings kept the Saints in touch, but it was Long who inspired a late charge.
Normally a confident player, shows it here, bends it around, and kicks the goal of his life.
With the pressure on, Paddy McCartan added another.
To make it a 1-point game.
But the Saints would have to settle for a draw, with a come-from-behind win just out of reach.
Carlisle! Dumped away by Davis. Could be a game saver. Siren sounds. And it's a draw. The agony and the ecstasy of a draw.
Hawthorn were waiting in round 6, with the Saints heading to Launceston for Sam Gilbert's 200th. An inaccurate start didn't help, but when Tim Membry made amends and Jack Sinclair drilled another,
Runs to 25 and kicks a goal.
the Saints were back in touch. Tom Hickey made his presence felt, as did Paddy McCartan.
To really tighten this one up, and he sticks it through.
But despite Jimmy Webster continuing his fine form and Jack Steele nailing 11 tackles, the Hawks powered away in the final term.